Today's guest is a serial entrepreneur and the CEO of GoHighLevel, the go-to platform for agency owners, which has done over $80 million in 2024. And today we have him on the channel to discuss how he and his team were able to build an 8-figure per year software company, and what you can learn as an agency owner, a SaaSpreneur, or someone just looking to make their first $1 online. Ladies and gentlemen, Shaun Clark. Shaun, welcome to the channel.
Hey, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. It's good to be here.
Yeah. So I want to ask, like, the first thing that really stood out to me, I like to do research on my guests who come on the channel. And the first thing that stood out to me was pretty much how quickly GoHighLevel grew in 2024. You guys seem to have, I guess, taken over the market for agency owners. You're like the go-to company, the go-to platform that anybody on YouTube talking about agencies will go to. Do you guys think that you've like exhausted your market, or where's there still room to grow?
Oh, not even close.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you think about, the evolution of the company is we definitely started out focusing on agencies, and that's still our focus. But, what defines an agency, I think, has changed over time. And we've helped a little bit in this, in the sense that we created this concept called a SaaSpreneur, because what we realized with agencies is that the the original concept of an agency was you would do things like SEO or websites or something like that. But the problem is those are really custom bespoke services and they don't scale very well. And so over time, what we realized is that when agencies become more of a software company than a services company, and what I mean by that is it can be many things to many people, but in essence, you're using the technology to power the end solution for the customer. You can scale a business a lot better. And so we've seen a big transformation both within our community, but also outside of our community when it comes to what an agency is defined as. So whether you, and some people, I think, particularly if you're coming to the game of late, you may not even necessarily respond to the agency moniker like maybe people used to. Maybe you will call yourself an entrepreneur, or there's a lot of AI titles being thrown around. But essentially, if your mission is to help a business utilize these tools to create an outcome, for me, you're an agency, right? You're a person who's dedicated to learning the technology, being an expert in the technology, following the technology as it changes, and implementing it on behalf of the customer. So originally, even if you take that broad definition, you would think, well, gosh, there's a hard limit to how far you can go. But in reality, and this, by the way, I didn't dream any of this up. I give all the credit to my customers because it's really where we learned all of this stuff. But it actually allows you now to be on every desk of every small business in the entire world, because what you're now doing is your mission isn't to just serve the agency and stop at their door. Your mission is to help that agency reach every small business. And so you're partnering up with your customer to truly reach all of those end customers. So it's an incredibly large market when you define it that way.
Yeah. And I like I've heard you refer to this before. Like you've referred to your customers not necessarily as like they're bringing people to you, but you see them as like partners. And why,
Oh
I
no,
guess
they're
why.
not. Yeah, they don't bring people to me. I bring things to them. That's my job, is to help them. My job is to make their lives easier.
Yep.
Their job isn't to do anything for me. They already have a hard enough job as it is, going out in the world and making sales and serving their customers. So I don't want to get on their list of things to deal with in a day.
Yeah, fair enough. And like that's I think that's one of the aspects of high level that people really talk about. They talk about that culture. And I guess as you guys have grown over time, how have you been able to maintain that culture as you've hired more people?
I mean, I think leadership comes from the top. So, you know, my senior leaders, and I have two amazing co-founders, by the way, and they are probably more, they have a lot more to do with our success than I do. But I just happen to have the CEO title, so people like to interview me. But, all three of us think about the culture more than anything, because the minute you do something that steps left or right of that culture line, the person below you is going to read that and say, oh, okay, well, maybe I can do that. So then they do it. And then down the line, down the line, down the line. And all of a sudden, you get into this situation where people are acting in a way that, you might come by later and say, well, what in the world's going on? But it all really stems back to your decision at some point to do something that it wasn't in line with the culture. So the very first thing is you're always on the way you believe. And, I just had a discussion with a senior leader who wanted to fly to meet with his team to do a sit down meeting and do a bunch of work on a whiteboard. And on one hand, he's not wrong. I don't think that would be a bad thing. But on the other hand, we're a remote culture. So the answer to that request was no, because not because I didn't think it had any efficacy, but the second you open that door, all of a sudden, what about all the other senior leaders who would love to do the same? And all of a sudden, you're flying around and you're basically pulling down your remote culture. So that's a good example of something. But then also, I think it's important to stay very connected with your customer because if at the end of the day you show up on meetings with customers, you get on calls with customers, it's really hard for your team members to say, well, I'm not going to do that. That's not my job. So I think those are the types of activities that are really critical to maintain the culture.
Yeah, yeah, I see that. And you mentioned something like you mentioned that your co-founders played a big role in this as well. Um, where
Still
did you
do.
meet? I'm sorry, what was that?
Oh, still do.
Yeah, yeah. Where did I guess two parts of this question, like where did you originally meet your co-founders, and then what led you to decide that they were the right people to start the company with?
Yeah, this is a great question with a really terrible answer in the sense that I think most people ask it because um, I mean, I know this to be true. I mean, anybody would be lucky to have the co-founders I do. The problem is, so my first original co-founder, Varun, who's our CTO, I met him because I hired him for his first job in India way back in the day, and we worked together for many years. And then he left to go work someplace else. And but in my time working with him, he was the absolute best software engineer I'd ever met in my whole life. And I'm a software engineer, so I'd like to say that means something. And he's way better than me. And so I always said to myself, if I ever wanted to work with another software engineer again, I want to call that guy. So when I started this business, I called that guy. And, he at the time was doing something else, which I knew was destined to fail. And I said, all right, well, when that fails, give me a call, because that's just the kind of guy I am. And he's also the kind of guy who doesn't get super offended by that stuff. So when it failed, he called me. Um, and that's how we started High Level together. And then our third co-founder, who is uber critical because he fundamentally opened the door to the entire business model we have today. He was a cold call because we had a co-customer in common. And, he originally I brushed him off because I sort of said, well, he's not my customer, he doesn't pay me any money. Why would I talk to this guy? But he was super nice. And we talked to him and he helped us and all these wonderful things. But then the thing that he did that I just have never seen in my entire life, which is what makes him so remarkable, is he saw the vision of High Level. He was running an agency with a very legit agency. It had an office, it had 20 employees. I mean, he was running a real company, and he basically put that on autopilot and he went around the country on his own dime for years, promoting us, or going to events with me, doing all kinds of crazy stuff with no pay, no promise of equity, no promise of anything. And it just got to this embarrassing point where Varun and I woke up and said, "Gosh, I cannot believe we have not made this guy a founder. If he left tomorrow, we'd be in real trouble. We better do something." So we did. And so, these are very unrepetitive stories, but I think what is at the heart of them is it's very hard without knowing someone and really testing their mettle to understand if they're going to be a good co-founder. But I would also say another detail here is even then, when these folks came on, I wrote up, a very casual, but a very as official as I could make it, one-page document that was very clear on what their deal was. And when they wanted to leave, they wanted to get out, how they could leave and what they would get when they left. And I had them sign that before we ever got started because it was really important to me. I'd been in a partnership myself where I had felt like so when I wanted to leave, I was handcuffed and I felt like something I'd worked for was being sort of kept back from me. So I felt like it was very important to treat them with respect out of the gate and make sure that they knew the day they left what the deal was. So that way, before they started, they knew what the terms were. And the reason I mention that is because if I was in the shoes of somebody saying, "Well, I really think it's important I get a co-founder," but I don't
Mhm.
know these people for 20 years or 10 years, and I don't know all these things about them, and I don't have all this life experience with them how would I go about it? I think that upfront document is the most critical piece you could have, because I have met many people who have met what they in the moment believe to be their business soulmate, only to come back a year later to tell me how much they hate those people, and they're in this, dispute because they have a 50-50 ownership and they don't know who
Hmm.
gets what, and it was just a mess. And so if you're in that moment yourself as an entrepreneur, my advice is write up the divorce decree before you get into the marriage, and also make sure that you maintain 51% ownership, so that when that person leaves, they get a fair deal. They know what that deal is, but you're not stuck in a situation where you have to negotiate every point with them because they're 50-50 with you.
Absolutely. And I guess these same qualities that you look for, like in co-founders, I guess, like, would you say like giving value first, like that was an important one?
Yes,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's tough because even in those moments, like as much as I wanted these people to work out as my co-founders, I
Hmm.
really I planned for the worst and hope for the best, and I would advise anybody else to do the same. Just assume that for whatever reason, and you can think of lots of reasons that are terrible, but also ones that are just life circumstances. Let's say they have a death in the family, and they have to move, or whatever it is. Imagine the worst case scenario and plan for that, because it can happen. But yeah, in general, you want to look for people who are willing to give before they take, and are willing to do things they don't have to do, before you give them anything, or before you kind of cement them for lifelong partners. But, I think it's really important that you treat them fairly, but you also have to demand a lot of them, because if your business does really well, you want to have an incredible partner by your side who you couldn't imagine being without. And you also want to look for someone who you regard as radically better at what it is they do, uh, in the organization than you could ever be. And if
Hmm.
you truly cannot say that they are smarter than you in that, you also are picking the wrong person. I mean, my two co-founders are embarrassingly better at what they do than I'll ever be. And I'm so fortunate for that. But that's the point. They fill the holes in my strengths or my weaknesses. And as together, we're a much better team that way. But it's also important that you respect them because they're just really good at what they do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess speaking to a lot of business owners, do you see problems like that with co-founders where maybe they hire someone who isn't a lot better than them?
Yeah, I mean, I think most people are smart enough to get intentionally, they get out of the gate. Like, I'll get a lot of people who will come and say, well, I'm a business person, I know how to make sales, but I need a technical co-founder, that sort of thing.
Hmm.
And I think, um, and so they have this idea in mind. I think what tends to happen is, because they don't know a lot on the technical side, they tend to get kind of, I think sometimes a little bit razzle dazzled because they don't know what does good look like, right? Like, how is this person really that good? And I do think this is a challenge. I mean, I do think, and this is, but I think this is where experience counts. This is why you write up a
Hmm.
document, so that, if they are amazing, great. A year on, you'll know. But if a year on they're terrible, you can say goodbye to them and they can say goodbye to you, but they'll know what they're getting, and you don't, it doesn't, I think the biggest issues I always see is when things don't work out, the fights that ensue are just mind blowing and very difficult, because oftentimes they'll come to us and say, first they'll come to us and say, well, we have two high level accounts, we want to combine them. Well, that's easy. Then they come later and say, I hate this guy, I want my account back. And now it's like, well, whose sub account is this? And working all that out is just tremendously difficult. And in all honesty, if they don't have a ownership structure that dictates it, they actually have to figure all that out on their own and come back to us together and tell us what to do. And it's just, it's no good for anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I want to switch gears here a little bit. Like you're mentioning that providing value is like an incredible way to get your foot in the door for agency
Oh
owners
yeah.
who are thinking of using that as a strategy. Do you think still an effective strategy to make something like a free website for somebody, or make a project as a lead magnet for a client? Or do you think, and maybe the market has changed a bit?
Oh, I think the market has changed a bit. I think that idea will never change.
Okay.
In fact, I think of every cold email I get and LinkedIn message I get, the ones that the vast majority of them, it's clear they know nothing about me. They've put no time into it, and they are asking for something before they're giving anything. So it's sort of like it's always the same pitch. It's, hey, I'm going to give you this amazing outcome, but first, I need you to give me your time and possibly your money. And that's like that's taking, before you give. It's ridiculous in my opinion, and it's why those people are doomed to be unsuccessful. Now, I think what's beautiful today though about this idea is, think about a free website. While it holds some promise, it doesn't actually do anything by itself. So even in a perfect world, let's just say everyone was really hip to take your free website. At the end of the day, let's keep in mind who we're selling to here and what they're looking for, right? The website is not the end all be all. It's not like you sell a car or something and someone kind of like says, "Ooh, now I know exactly what I want to do with this. Thanks. I'm done here." The website is really a means to an end. And what they're looking for is they're actually looking to generate business. They're looking to get customers. So even in a world where everyone's taking your free website, the likelihood that that's going to give you a successful follow-on relationships is actually quite low because if you know what you're doing in the world, a website doesn't bring traffic to itself. It doesn't convert it's the traffic itself. It doesn't do any of those things. It's just a static bunch of text and graphics and maybe some fancy video if you're really good, but it doesn't bring anyone to the site. So these days, if you think about it, you have a much better opportunity by deploying things like AI conversations, inbound voice AI, like inbound voice AI, it's the killer app in my opinion. Because if you think about it, I'm telling you, every business out there gets calls every single day from potential customers, and they miss these calls because they're out doing the thing that they do. And if you turn one of those calls into an actual customer for them, that's real value. And the amount of time and effort it takes to set up inbound voice AI to, let's say, a free website, just way less time, way, way, way less time. And you're able to deliver way more value and you're getting closer to a customer, which is really what these people wanted to begin with. So I do think you always need to provide value, but the type of value you want to look to create is as close to the outcome that customer's interested in as you can. The whole website thing is way too far up of the stack these days to really stand in place of any kind of real value. If anything, you're almost handing me work. You're like, hey, here's some work. Go and figure out how to drive traffic here and convert here and host and all these things, in order to make this website thing do anything for you. It's much better to go with something like inbound voice AI if you really want to create a customer value and honestly get yourself a sale.
Yeah, so it's almost like the closer you can get to their core desire, the more valuable it is. Like if they want to get, they want to get cash in the bank, and then they have customers that make the cash. They have
Yeah.
leads who go there, and they have traffic at the top. The closer you can get to the bottom, the more valuable it is.
I mean, I don't know why this isn't more obvious, but
Yeah.
it's always been, and it's funny, and I don't think that idea has changed. It's just that I think we're fortunate enough now to have tools that allow us to get closer for a lot less money, and a
Hmm.
lot less effort. So, I mean, if anything, it should be the best time ever, to be in this business.
Absolutely. And when you're talking about these inbound, like voice agents, inbound like voice callers,
Yeah,
does High Level provide any tools for doing things like this?
of course we do. I mean, we've got this all built in. I mean, it's all out of the box. You can
Yeah.
have this up and running in, 5 minutes. And that's what's fun about it. Anybody who you want to, and what's fun about it is when let's just say you want to send someone an email, say, hey, look, call this phone number, tell me what you think. And it's very easy to do. And then when you set it up, it's even easier to do because, in the past, if you take a tool like High Level, you know, there's this challenge of, okay, well, let's say I have to add them as a user and they have to log in and they have to learn something and on and on and on. Well, inbound voice AI, you can say, no, 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 no. Oh, you just go to your phone right now and you type, I don't know, whatever it's like, star star nine star or something, and every phone company it's the same thing. And then you put in the phone number and you hit pound and it'll say thank you. And all it's doing is it's setting up what's called busy no answer call forwarding, which means it's going to ring the main number. It's going to try to ring that business person, ring, ring, ring 3 times. If they don't pick up, it just rolls over to the AI. So you're not interrupting their call flow. You're not replacing their phone number. You're not making them have to log into a new piece of software they don't know how to use and train them. You're literally putting the whole thing on autopilot and they don't have to change their business process at all. It's such an easy slam dunk.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Like you guys, it seems like High Level really provides a lot of tools for all sorts of different types of fulfillment that an agency might
Oh,
provide.
tons. You
Yeah.
name it, we got it.
Yeah. One of the one of the things that like really stood out to me about High Level specifically is that you guys have, it seems like the all-in-one business platform. You guys have calendars, you guys
We
have
do.
like a CRM, everything is like in funnel builders, everything is in one platform. Was that the original plan with High Level? I'm not really a High Level OG. Was that the original plan, or did it
No.
sort of evolve over time into that?
Um, and it did. So initially, and this is important because these days it's funny because I would, with a very straight face, tell you that we are now starting to go after HubSpot in a very big way, and anybody smaller than that. And I would have never told you that with a straight face when we first started. And I would have never told you we're going to. In fact, I used to say, if you go back far enough, there are many an interview where I would say we didn't, we don't consider ourselves a CRM. If the world needed another CRM, we wouldn't be here. And that's actually true. Um, we now, of course, have a great CRM, but that's only because we started off with one feature, which was we think of it as, and we still do, as speed to lead. So what was happening is other funnel builders, other form builders, other ways of intaking leads, people were intaking leads all day long, but they weren't following up on those leads. So we automated that lead follow up, and that one piece was so valuable to businesses through the agencies that we served that it was just a life-changing thing because invariably what you ended up with is the agency we started off with the Facebook ads cowboys, which, they're still around today and I love them. But they were in the business of running ads on Facebook, generating leads and handing them off in a spreadsheet to the dentist or the doctor or the lawyer or the whatever. And the problem they would run into is they were routinely finding they would get fired in, T minus 10 seconds because they would hand over the spreadsheet of names and phone numbers and they'd be popping champagne and they'd be telling how the customer how great they were. And then the customer would be like, "What are you talking about, man? None of these people ever walked in my door. I didn't get any money from this. You're an idiot. You're fired." And they'd be like, "Wait, no, hold on. You have to actually call these people, you have to follow up with them. They don't just magically appear." And then lawyers or the doctor or whoever's like, "What are you talking about, man? I don't have time for that. I'm running a full-time business here. You need to call these people." And the agency owner would be like, "Wait, what do you mean, man? I have a full-time business here. I'm running these ads and tweaking them and coming up with new creative and on and on. I don't have time for this." So there was this just fundamental issue in the middle. And so what we would do is we would automate that. And we would initially it was SMS. And then from there, it was amazing. People would respond back instantaneously, right? Because they'd just run an ad, they'd registered on the ad. "Hey, you want to come in for that free teeth whitening?" "Yeah, of course I do. I just registered on the ad." So then we did calendars, and then we just sort of built vertically into the solution. And eventually that was, our first it was calendars, and then it was a funnel builder, which everyone told us at the time we were nuts. Um, and then eventually it was a CRM and social media posting and two-way conversations and on and on and on and on it goes, to now where we have, I mean, if good luck finding a feature on the sales and marketing side we don't have. Um, but we really did build off of that very first feature and that first outcome we were really helping people achieve.
Yeah, and it seems like the new feature, the new trend um, for any of these platforms is integrating AI into their systems. Like, what is High Level doing in that regard besides like we talked about the
What's
voice
high level
agents?
not doing,
Okay,
is really the question. So,
yeah,
okay, so AI is everywhere. So we have a copilot now across the whole system. We have conversation AI. So think any chat or text channel. So that could be web chat, Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, SMS, you name it, full 2A AI for conversations, but also booking appointments. We have inbound voice AI for on the voice channel. So all the channels are there, right? We have the ability to use AI to create all kinds of assets. So text, images, entire funnels if you want to, like you name it, we have it. We will be launching here in the next couple months a full agentic builder because I think that today AI is very much one-off piecemeal kinds of stuff. But I think that what we're driving at, and I don't think people are yet there to handle it, but I think it's a full agentic concept. So I think a lot of agencies will say, "Hey, Mr. or Mrs. Lawyer, I have a paralegal agent that is pre-trained to do all the work of a paralegal. and it's been battle tested with 100 other attorneys, and I'm going to sell it to you for X amount of dollars a month, and I'm going to be responsible to make sure it's accurate and continues to get retrained and this and this and this. We're going to have the builder for that so that agencies can build those agents and get those out to their customers.
Excellent, excellent. And like one of the big things with most AI agencies, most AI developers is that they want to integrate these tools with things they already have. Is high level's goal to mainly to bring everything under their umbrella or to sort of adapt and plug into these other
Well, we,
platforms?
we always play well with others, but I mean,
Mhm.
if you look out there, like give me an example. I bet I know what you're going to say, but let me see if I in my brain is what you're thinking of. What's a
Yeah.
platform that you would recognize or use
Yeah,
for
let's say
this?
like
Or
NA10, for example.
that's exactly what I had in my brain.
Yeah.
So N8N's cool, but I don't think it's special or mind blowing.
Mhm.
It's not something we can't do in-house. So if you want to use N8N, that's cool. We'll never shut people down on that. But if you really, the N8N it's a great example, I think, of WordPress back in the day. It's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go host it on my own servers and it's gonna be so great. And for the right person who's super techie, that's great. Keep it up. There's still people who do that, I'm sure. But at some point, it's like, yeah, but if you want to go make money and you don't have to think about your Heroku stack and deal with the server hosting and patches on your N8N and all this other nonsense, you just want to find somebody who just deals with all that for you. So can you use it and then with height level? Absolutely. We have our workflow builder, we'll do it. We'll probably add some native integration at some point, but we'll also just build all the stuff they have in N8N into high level. It's easier today than ever. You'll actually see a ton of integrations go out here in the next couple of weeks with that end in mind. So will we ever say no to N8N? No, but will we make it a lot easier to do inside high level? Because, again, as always, can you string together 7 or 8 different apps and try to put your own high level together? You absolutely can. But when data orchestration is all seamless in one app, it's just a lot easier.
Yeah, is that sounds like that's sort of the trend over time because you guys have added so many more features. Like someone could use Calendly or they could use the built-in
Yep,
calendar that you have, and one is clearly
exactly.
easier because it's all in one
Well, the
site.
good news is
Yeah.
we don't, I will say we don't judge. I mean, we have a Calendly integration and we do that because, some people just said, well, I have 50 calendars set up and I just don't want to mess with it. And it's like, all right, that's cool. We're down. Like we're not offended. You're still a high level customer. We don't care. And I think there'll always be people who are on the cutting edge and those people want to use the most cutting edge tools and they're okay to deal with all of the difficulties. And trust me, look, I used to run Linux, and I remember, I would always be jumping to the new distro, and I would always, be moving to Ubuntu and SUSE and Red Hat and trying to edge out what the latest and greatest was. But, things would break nonstop. And you'd always be dealing with those issues. But if you get a benefit out of that is otherwise cutting edge, sometimes that can be totally worth it. And there'll always be those people, and we love those people and respect those people. But I think once you take a step down, that's the top 5% of the market. The rest of us ideally just want to run a business and the cutting edge people tend to get paid for being cutting edge. They're trying to educate people, they're trying to bring those cutting edge solutions down, they're trying to show new models and new trends. Everybody else is trying to really feed off of those top 5% and create like this day-to-day business. And that's how we roll too. We want to learn from those top 5%, but we don't bring it into the 95% and make their lives easier so that they can just go sell it to the plumber and not have to worry about it.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. The last thing like I want to I guess really get your insights on is the I guess the affiliate and the white label side of GoHighLevel. That's certainly
Sure,
helped you guys take off. And
100%.
correct me if I'm wrong, the last like affiliate commission I saw was you guys offer 40%. Is that correct?
There's no last. That's how it's been since day one. We haven't
The
changed.
most
I mean,
recent one. Yeah.
and we won't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What's
40% for
um
life.
what's giving you guys, I guess, the ability to offer such a high percentage? Because that's more than a lot of other software products.
Um, well, I think mostly it's because we don't think of affiliates as some kind of third rail solution.
Yeah.
So we don't do, I mean, we have a smattering of ads and things like that, but that 99% of our sales are from affiliates today, and they always will be because I think the word affiliate is like this weird, it's kind of like agency. you can go to affiliate conferences and see like people who like will sell anything and everything based on what they think they can make. That's not who we sort of think of as affiliates. Affiliates are our customers, right? And, when someone goes out into the world and says to somebody that, hey, I think you should use high level, I really believe in it, they're not just telling someone to buy our product, they're putting their reputation on the line for us. And I think it's really important to put a lot of respect to those people. And the only way I can think to do that is to pay them money for bringing that person in. They made the sale for us first and foremost, and they did so using their own reputation, and that's huge. And if they're willing to do that for us, I want to make sure that they're compensated fairly for that. And it really aligns the incentives. So if you think about it, means that we have to sit here and make the best product in the world so that that person, when they're out, has the confidence in us to tell their friends, tell their audience, tell the massive, sea of people that they're standing in front of, giving a talk to, that this is the right solution and feel like their reputation can stand behind that statement. And so I think it's very important to create a situation where if they're willing to do that, we're willing to come to the table with a substantive thank you for that. And for us, the 40% commission is that substantive statement.
Yeah, I think a lot of people take that for granted. Like they'll build a software, they'll say, we have an affiliate program, 20% one for the first month, and they think that's going to motivate affiliates. Like what are some of the other things that High Level does besides just that commission to motivate and incentivize affiliates?
I mean, we have all kinds of events for them. We have, I mean, depends on your level. So, but
Yeah,
even people who raise their hand and just say like, hey, because let me actually be really clear on this. We don't
sure.
regard someone who has zero affiliate commission as any lesser than, because what I will tell you is we have had direct experience of people showing up saying, I have no idea how to do this affiliate thing. And we end up writing them $1 million checks. So we have seen people on their mom's kitchen table rise to millionaire status off the kitchen table. And so I have a lot of respect for the capacity of the individual who is unknown today to become quite known tomorrow. And in fact, I think to a great extent, those people have a lot of power because they have authenticity in a way that, if pick some celebrity, like in the marketing space, pick like a Gary V or something, right? If tomorrow he comes out and says, hey, everybody should go use high level, people kind of know he's a sales dude, right? They're
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, sure, sure, Gary. They know he's pitching. But I think when somebody says, "Oh, hey, I'm a nobody, but let me tell you why I think this is a great idea," there's a lot of authenticity there, and so I've seen some really amazing results from everybody. So we really regard affiliates of all shapes and sizes as important. But if you're just getting started, we have all kinds of just getting started stuff. If you're as you get more success, we have more advanced education. As you get even more success, we have one-on-one affiliate managers, we have affiliate events, we have all kinds of things designed to try to help you at the right point in your affiliate game get better. So we have a whole ecosystem around this, and we have probably over 100 employees now whose whole job it is at some level to either find new affiliates or help existing affiliates get better.
When you say find new affiliates, that's not super common. Does High Level do outreach to people to
Oh,
bring them on board as affiliates?
absolutely, 100%.
Interesting.
Because the reality is not everybody knows who we are.
Yeah.
And I also think maybe they do know who you are. So this is another interesting thing, right? Maybe they know who you are, but they don't know you, right? So like anybody, you've got to develop a sense of trust. And I think a lot of affiliates are used to interesting situations where it's like, well, I have this YouTube channel and I charge $5,000 a video. And most companies, that's how they would engage these people.
Mhm.
But we want to create a long-term relationship. And like you said, 40% recurring commission for life is a little odd. And so when you say that to somebody, they're like, "Oh, sure, sure, yeah, that's cute." But no, we're like, "No, no, listen. We write literally over $1 million worth of checks to, like 50 people a year or something crazy now, like some big number. And that could be you. And it's just hard for them to believe it. And so we work with those people to show them what's possible. And it's amazing how many of those people you know, They thought $5,000 a video was just, a huge business for them. But all of a sudden they realize there's a much better way to roll when they work with us. And so but it does take work to do that. And we do have a team that does that outreach.
Right, right. Do you think that having this sort of culture, because one of the things that I guess I've taken away is like you guys put the customer first. Do you think that that also attracts a certain type of agency owner
Oh,
to the platform?
oh, I mean, absolutely. And this kind of
Yeah,
back to your original thing about white label, if you really
yeah,
double click on how the white label came about, it came about because I would talk to agency owners and they would give me these terrible tales of how they would go in, kill themselves to make this sale, finally get the sale, and then they would go out and they would get another product off the shelf, some other CRM system or whatever, and they would tell the customer, okay, you got to buy this thing, and then they would just pour their heart and soul into making this campaign and making the software work and orchestrating and have it all perfect, and then they would get this phone call, and the client would be like, yeah, things are going so well, but I think we're gonna have to let you go. And they'd be like, wait, hold on. I don't get it. Things are going really well. And they're like, yeah, this HubSpot CRM, this active campaign thing, it's really doing a great job for us. And it's so cheap. And you're charging us so much money. So we're going to let you go. And they're like, no, you don't understand. Like, I made that work. And if I stop working, it's going to fail.
yeah.
And the customer just couldn't believe that, right? They don't have any way to figure that out. And so while we did the white label, it was really simple. We wanted to make it so that the customer would understand that the software, the technology, and the agency were part and parcel. They were the same thing. And they were just an inseparable element. And I always sort of said to people, look, at the very worst, if they do dump you on the services side, at least you could keep them on the software side. And of course, this led to SaaS mode and everything else because some very smart agency owners um, did, and I go back to this every time. Our customers always show us the way. That's exactly what happened. When people would quit, they'd be like, all right, fine. You don't want to pay me 3 grand. You're gonna lose your shirt and it's gonna suck for you and your leads are gonna drop. But that's cool. I'll sell you the software for $300 a month. And what was awesome about this was two things really happened here. One, they had a $300 sale that they would have otherwise lost to another software vendor. But actually, the more important thing is they didn't get fired. And you just you need to understand how psychology works. But when you really understand people's egos here, what would invariably happen in that past situation where they would fire them and keep some other person's software, it's not like bad things wouldn't happen. Of course, bad things would happen. The whole thing would fall apart they because the business owner would finally have what the agency owner said would happen, which is their leads would dry up. But at that point, imagine the ego situation that the business owner was in. They would have to call the agency and say, "Hi, you know what? You're right. I'm an idiot. What you said would happen happened, and I really need you back." That takes a tremendous amount of putting your ego aside to do. But in the white label situation, it just radically changed the psychology. All of a sudden,
Mm.
the business owner just calls back and says, you're right. I think the software isn't enough. I think we need to probably also bring back services with you. And all that was really doing is adding back something, not starting back, completely starting over. And it really just allowed enough for them to not have to admit they were wrong, and the agency owners would really reclaim this business a couple months later. And so it's a sort of marvelous situation. And some of the most intelligent agency owners now will walk into these scenarios kind of knowing what the future will hold. And they will almost put an end date on the services themselves. They'll say, well, we're only going to do 3 months of ads. And then we're going to we're going to kill the ads and we're just going to put you on software. And then when you're ready, we'll come back with the ads. And it just is amazing how the ads will come on and come off, but they don't lose the customer now. And they have this beautiful software revenue stream that is honestly more valuable long term to them than the services ever would be, anyways. And so it's just a total difference in how these agency owners now can go into the market, make the sale, retain the customer, and not have to deal with this constant in and out of customers and having to go back and find new customers all the time. They're able to create lifelong retention with their customer base.
Absolutely. It's like some of the easiest money you make or some of the easiest sales you make are from people who've already bought from you. It sounds like that
Totally.
strategy is a way of keeping somebody sort of close, not completely cutting it off,
Yeah,
keeping them, in
100%.
your orbit.
Yeah, you
Excellent.
got it.
Excellent. Well, Sean, thank you for coming on the channel. I
Yeah,
really
man. Thanks
appreciate
for
the
having me.
advice. Yeah, absolutely. Everybody, I'm sure you can look in the description and find the links for High Level and Sean and all of that. And yeah, just thanks for coming on the channel.
Yeah, man. Thanks a lot. Have a good rest of your day.
You too. Have a good one.
Bye, Eric.